Hello, this is Jake Shirley Coaching, and today I'm talking about budgeting. And if you're like most people, you don't like having a budget because it doesn't sound fun. It sounds limiting and restrictive, and it sounds like kind of like wearing a straitjacket. You're not going to have any freedom with your own money. But really, to actually have more freedom in the long run, you do want to have a budget, because a budget is just a plan for your money, and I like having a plan. A budget is going to help you think long term, and you have to do that if you want to win with money. Because if you don't think long term, you're not going to have any extra money to make more than a minimum payment on your credit card. So you have to plan ahead to do that. If you don't think about the bill until it comes in the mail, then you're not going to have any extra money set aside to get that credit card paid off quicker. And that's the same thing with any other kind of loan. It's also something to think about special occasions, things that happen every year like Christmas, like birthdays. You want to plan ahead for those, because if you don't plan ahead, you might end up paying for Christmas with a credit card, and then you're going to be paying off that debt for several months. So you want to think about how much money you usually spend on Christmas. In the example I use here, if you usually spend around $1,000, you actually want to think ahead and start saving for Christmas in August. If you're going to save $200 a month, because if you do that, then you're going to have $1,000 in cash by Christmas. That way you don't pay for it with a credit card. So that's just one example, and it works for anything else. If you know you're going to need a new car in a year, so you start setting aside a certain amount of money every month. That way, when a year is up, you trade in your car, you have a pile of cash, and you pay for your new car with cash. You always want to pay cash for cars. If you do an online search, you're going to find lots of different ways and methods of doing a budget. I'm going to recommend the zero-based budget. This just means that if you start with your income, and you do this before the month even begins. So you write down your income, then you write down your expenses, and you want it to equal zero. So this just means that you have a plan for each dollar that you're going to make. Because if you don't do this, you're just going to end up blowing money on, you're going to eat out, you're going to go out to eat more than you should, or you're going to make some other purchase, and then at the end of the month, you're not going to have any extra money to pay down on your debt. So you want to have a plan for each dollar that you're going to make. And this does not mean that you end up with $0 in your checking account. I recommend having at least $1,000 to $2,000 in your checking account at all times while you're getting out of debt. And it's just there to catch the unexpected emergencies and expenses that might come up. So a zero-based budget does not mean you go down to zero in your checking account. Because as you're doing this, you're going to probably put some money into savings if you have a sinking fund, like if you're saving up for Christmas or something like that. So let's look at an example of a budget. And if you do an online search, you can also find plenty of free templates and examples of budgets to look at. You can use a spreadsheet or you can use a pen and paper. So you want to find the process that works for you. So the numbers you're about to see, they're not meant to be accurate or realistic. It's just an example of what a budget might look like. You would do when you do this, you would plug in your own numbers. So here's just an example I just came up with. So your income is for the month would be $2,500, and here's all your expenses. You want to start with your shelter, your utilities, and food. So you want to keep your place to live, your house or where you're renting. You want to keep your utilities on, and you want to have food on the table. So you want to have shelter and food, and keep your utilities on. Then I just have here like if you have a cell phone, your internet. This is your subscriptions, like if you have a Netflix account or another streaming service, and gas for the car. And then I just put in $100 for fun money. So during this process of getting out of debt, I'm not saying don't have fun. You still want You still want to have a little bit of fun, have a life, but you want to keep that to a minimum while you're getting out of debt. And I'm not saying you have to do this forever. If you decide to cut out most of your streaming services, it's only for a short period of time while you're getting out of debt. You don't have to do that forever. In this particular example, we end up with $340 extra. You add up all this is $2,160, so we have an extra $340. And if you don't have a plan for your money, you don't know any of this, and you're just going to end up spending that money somewhere else. But in this example, we are getting out of debt, and if you have a credit card or some other type of debt, that $340 is going to go towards that. And you want to get that, in this example, you want to get that credit card paid off as quick as you can. And our total we came up with is $2,500. So every dollar you made has a plan to go and a thing to do. And in this example, I teach people to get out of debt, so we're putting that extra money on a credit card, getting that thing paid off quicker. So you have to plan ahead to do that, and you have to be really intentional, and you have to decide that you're getting out of debt. You have to decide to do this. And this page is just from my website, is Jake Shirley Coaching, and I'm a personal finance coach, and right now I focus on getting people out of debt. So feel free to contact me if you just have a question about the program or how I do my sessions, anything like that. And thank you for watching.